Hello, this is Javier Rodriguez, and I want to welcome you to our Rich Cop Poor Cop presentation. Now, keep in mind that this is a very condensed version of a workshop we conduct at police stations all across the United States to teach officers how to secure their financial future by leveraging the power of the concepts and products I'm going to share with you here today. Now, I want to get started. I want to start by telling you about the company that stands behind these products. And in this case, it's National Life Group, which is a Fortune 1000 company with over 870,000 customers. Now, keep in mind that this company has been mutually held since 1848. It's been around for a very, very long time and has weathered wars, depressions, recessions, and through it all has kept a promise to its policy owners. Now, mutually held, it means that this company is owned by the policyholders, not any particular shareholders. And what does that mean? That means that just like a credit union that has your best interest at heart, this company does the exact same thing. Now, I'm here to talk to you about the three common threats that police officers need to consider when planning for their future. And the best part is we're going to show you how to address every single one of them with one single product as well. First of all, dying too soon. I think that goes without saying that not just because of the nature of the job, but rather the uncertainties of life. You always want to have at least 10 times your annual income in the form of life insurance to ensure that if God forbid something happens to you, your family can move forward in life and not backwards. Second one is becoming ill. Now, yes, you do have more than likely sick hours, but unfortunately, if it's a serious illness or injury, that can run out. IOD usually lasts about a year, and many officers find themselves begging for some type of donation of hours or money just to see themselves through their challenges when that could have been prevented with what I'm going to share with you here right now. And then the third challenge is going to be living too long. And by living too long, we're talking about you outliving your money. Good news is that most pensions are lifetime pensions. However, pensions only represent a portion of what you used to make, so you usually have to try to make it up with something else on the side, like I'm going to share with you here right now, and that ends up running out, putting you behind the bind. And our goal is that if you would like to retire and stay retired, you're going to love this presentation. Now, here we have an example of a 3 at 55 pension plan. So what that means is that you'll receive 3% for each year of service, and you can start collecting that pension at age 55. Every department is different, and even within departments, you usually have different tiers or sections or programs depending on when they came on to the department or when the employer or police officer leaves and so on. So again, in this example, I'm just using a generic 3 at 55. Now, the first column shows you while you're active or still working with the department, and there's your base pay in blue. Usually you have some kind of bonuses, bilingual, hazard pay, whatever the case might be, that bumps it up just a little bit more. And then, of course, for most officers, there's overtime, which is where the bulk of their income comes from. Now, when you do retire, you get a portion of that. And even at 90%, you see how you'll still have a shortage that you'll have to address somehow. And then if you only do 20 years in this particular plan, you get 60%, meaning that you're going to have a tremendous shortage of cash flow every single month. Now, as you can see there, the shortage can add up very quickly, especially if you want to retire and stay retired. It's going to be very, very difficult without getting some kind of income or job. Now, the way that officers have up until now dealt with the shortage that I'm describing to you is by saving in something called a 457B, or deferred compensation, or what most officers just call it, deferred comp. It's a good thing if that's all you know, and it certainly is better than doing nothing at all. But when I'm going to talk to you about something, it's going to be way ahead of its time because it addresses many of the challenges that have evolved ever since deferred comp came about in 1978. That's the year that deferred comp was made available to officers for the very first time. Now, you see here is a revolver, and the reason we have a revolver here is because this is also the primary weapon that was the number one choice for officers back in 1978. Now, more than likely, you don't carry a revolver as your primary weapon anymore, but rather a version of this semi-automatic pistol you see here. Why? Well, usually because it has more capacities in the round capacity, or maybe it's more accurate, or whatever the case might be. The point is that it simply has evolved. Well, my question to you is, has your financial product evolved since 1978? Now, going back to what I was telling you, another challenge you'll have with deferred comp is the fact that while your base pay is taxable when you're working, guess what? When you retire, the pension is 100% taxable as well. And then you take some more taxable income like deferred compensation and not quickly understand why so many officers, when they retire, are almost forced to get another job just to deal with the taxes. Let me ask you a very simple question. If you were a farmer, would you take a tax break on your seed in the spring only to let Uncle Sam tax your entire harvest in the fall? Or would you rather pay the taxes on the seed in the spring and have a tax-free harvest in the fall? And of course, most of them would say, tax my seed, please, because now all I have to worry about is making my harvest as big as possible, because no matter how big it is, it's 100% income tax free. So if you rather get taxed on the seed, why do you have a deferred comp? And if you have a deferred comp, you probably have it for the same reasons I had it, which is that's what we all had, because that's all that we knew. Also, here's another challenge that I have for you. Do you think in the future taxes are going to go up, or do you think income taxes are going to go down? Now, here you'll see the highest tax brackets since 1900 till today directly from the IRS website. Taxes were pretty low until 1929 came around and the stock market crashed, and that gave us 50 years of higher taxes. Now, as you can see, today we are pretty low, but we're also coming out of our second worst financial crisis in history. So if you think, or if you know taxes are going to go up in the future, why defer your taxes? Now, ironically, one of the things that you'll see there in the late 70s, taxes were very high, almost 70%. And so deferred comp made a lot of sense back then, because what would happen is you would not pay taxes at 70% and end up paying them at 28% when most officers from back then retired, or even at 35. But why defer your taxes if you think that they're low today and will be higher tomorrow? Makes absolutely no sense. Another challenge that you'll see with deferred comp is that it's very risky. And why is that? Well, most Americans have been conditioned to believe that they have to risk their money in order to grow their money. And here you see what $100,000 invested in deferred comp would have done in the S&P 500 from 1997 till 2012. So as you can see, that 100,000 would have grown to about 150,000, only to have a drop, and then go up, and then go down, and then go up. My question to you is, where will the market be when you need your money the most? We all know police officers that were supposed to retire, but had to postpone retirement because of the fact that their deferred comp evaporated. Now, what we do is we teach people the power of what's called indexing. Indexing simply means that when the market goes up, you go up. However, only to a certain percentage or limit or cap, usually between 12 to 15%. So if the stock market goes up, let's just say 10%, you get 10%. But if the stock market goes up 20%, you might cap out at 15. So why on earth would you take a cap or a limit when you can go higher by being in a variable type of account? Well, the answer is this. When the market goes up, you go up with it to that limit like I mentioned earlier. However, when the market starts to go down, you level off and you never lose a dime. And then when the market goes back up like it always does, you pick up from where you left off while everybody else gets to pick up from where they landed. And as you can see, when the market goes down, you level off again. So using the very same scenario that I just mentioned to you, in the same market with the same amount of money and in the same time frame, you can see that here you would have had $61,000 more in value and balance without ever having to lose one night of sleep. Very, very powerful. Indexing versus variable. And then the last thing I'll show you here is very quickly a scenario of an actual 30-year-old police officer. Here we have a 30-year-old police officer that is already saving $250 a month in his deferred comp. Now, $250 a month equates to $3,000 a year, or annual outlay. Now, if this officer saves $3,000 his first year and then dies, what happens to the $3,000 in his deferred comp account? Well, it goes to his beneficiary. But does the beneficiary receive the full $3,000? The answer is no, because this person never paid taxes. So that $3,000 might end up being $2,000 after the taxes that have to be withheld because he never paid that. Now, the $2,000, who does that go to? Well, that goes to his beneficiaries, but what will they have to do as well? You guessed it, pay taxes as well. So it went from $3,000 to $2,000, and then from $2,000 to $1,000. Who won? Obviously the IRS. I'm here to show you a much better way. If this officer simply redirected those same $250, which is $3,000 a year, into what I'm describing to you right now, and then passed away, the $3,000 goes away because that was just premium. However, the beneficiary now receives a $370,000 life insurance death benefit. And in this example, a full $370,000 would go to his beneficiary 100% income tax free. Now, this is also important because this type of life insurance that I'm describing to you works a little bit different than your traditional life insurance. Most traditional life insurance, someone somewhere has to die in order for the plan to pay out. And this was different. If this officer happens to come down with either a critical, chronic, or terminal illness, he can actually advance himself parts of that face amount or that life insurance while he's still alive. If he comes down with a chronic illness where he cannot perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, this officer can actually get up to 2% on a monthly basis of his life insurance. So what does that mean? That means that this officer would get about $7,400 a month every single month until either A, he got better, or B, 50 months go by, which is incredibly important, especially in this line of work. Now, if we fast forward 15 years into this plan, and this person needs to send his kid to college, he has $53,000 to tap into. He could literally walk away with every penny of that $53,453, or access just a portion of it as well at any time for any reason without penalties or taxes. And access to your money is key to keeping yourself debt free. And let me wrap it up here, and I'll give you one more component of this plan I'm talking to you about here today. Let's just say this person did not get sick, did not die, did not need the money for college, just wants to retire and stay retired. At the end of this particular plan, this person would have $322,049, which again, he could just cash out and walk, or he could also elect $45,000 a year of income tax free until he died. Now the $45,000 would be on top of the pension that the officer has. So again, this gives them the feeling of having almost two streams of lifetime income, except this particular one would be 100% income tax free. And ironically, it was all done with the same money he was already saving into just deferred comp. The simplest way to describe deferred comp is that it's a one-trick pony, and that's it. It was never intended to be anything but that. But through the evolution of the products and the concepts that I'm telling you about, this one right here gives you a multiple trick pony for the same amount of money, which simply means better value for your dollar. Now lastly, I just want to ask you a few questions, and I want you to think about this. Would you rather have the type of balance that A, can go up and down, meaning you make money and you lose money, or B, it only goes up and never goes down? Would you rather have, in the event of your death, your money shrink, or B, blossom many times over like I showed you? How about accessibility? A, you can't touch it till you're 59 and a half, otherwise there'll be a penalty, there'll be taxes and all kinds of things. Or B, you can access up to 90% of it at any time for any reason starting year number 2. And then we're talking about income. Would you rather have the type of income that lasts just a few short years, or how about for the rest of your life? And finally, would you rather have taxable income, or B, tax-free income at retirement? And of course, living benefits refers to what I mentioned earlier. In case of a chronic, critical, or terminal illness, you can actually advance yourself your life insurance without breaking the bank or bankrupting the family. And of course, those living benefits do not come with anything but the life insurance I just described to you right now. So I want to say thank you. Get with the person who directed you to this presentation for more information, and most importantly, to get a customized report that can show you where you could be if you just simply redirected the money you already spent, or if you're not doing anything for yourself, your family, and your future. There's no better time to start than today. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for your time.